Hi, everybody. This is Debbie Roth. Oh my goodness. Okay, I think I'm live now. Hi, everybody. This is Debbie Roth, and this is our first of a four-part series called Forgiving Fridays in February. And it is so good to have you. I don't know if I'm going to be able to see the chat. This is the first time that I'm doing one of these longer Facebook Lives. So I apologize if I can't see it, and maybe for the next one, I'll get an assistant. So, really, this Facebook Live and the whole series is an opportunity for you to slow down with yourself, to really ask yourself, is there a judgment that I have or a pattern that I do that doesn't serve me? And am I willing to forgive and let go? And really, my encouragement today is if you can't stay for the whole video today, if you miss part of the series, is to go back and watch the replay and to slow down with each of the resources here to help you release the right and wrong inside, to release the obstacles that block you from opening into greater love and creating more of the life you want. So I took some notes to really help us on our way today. So the first thing is, even though I don't know if I can see the chat, I really encourage you to post in the chat, post where you're from, post what you most want to get out of the series, and also post one thing, at least one thing that you really want to forgive. And I will be looking at the chat later and commenting if I can't see it now. So really, a little bit more on the series. So again, this is Forgiving Fridays in February. So every Friday, I'm going to either be doing a live video like this, or I'm going to be posting a handout or a workbook with a skill to help you practice forgiveness. So my encouragement is to really use the skills to practice. And we're going to focus on a question that we'll slow down with a little bit later. And the question, oh, I can see the comments. This is so great. I didn't know if I could. So awesome. So we're going to slow down with the question over the series. If I could forgive one thing that would make the biggest difference for me, what is that? So today's Facebook Live is here to help you get set up with that. We're going to cover a really cool skill to forgive to help you slow down with it. And there'll be another Facebook Live at the very end of the series. And in between, I'm going to be posting a workbook on acceptance. I'm going to be posting a handout with an exercise to practice the skill of self-forgiveness. So you have all these tools to work with you. And so my encouragement is to slow down with each one of them. And we're going to get into the work here so you'll know, like, what do I want to work on? What do I really want to forgive and let go? So this is just context to get you set up. So when you slow down with each of these skills, including the one that we're going to practice today, it's like you'll really create more freedom and more peace in your life. And one of my favorite quotes is by Rumi. And I don't remember it exactly, but it's something like, you don't need to seek for love. All you need to do is find all the barriers that stand in the way and dissolve them. And that to me is the adventure we're on here. That forgiveness is one of the greatest, most powerful tools that I know to help you let go of what blocks you from greater loving, that blocks you from listening to your heart and the prayers of your heart, and that blocks you from truly creating the inner and outer experiences that you want. Like forgiveness is a gateway into the wisdom and strength of your heart. So here we go. Strap in and get ready for this incredible ride of forgiveness. So again, if you've just joined in, please post your questions in the chat, post where you're from, post something that like you most want to get out of the series, and also what you want to forgive. And if I look down, it's just because I'm looking at my notes. I'm looking at my notes. And Nikki, I love it that I accept love. And really, my encouragement right now is for each of you watching, and if you're catching the replay, to ask yourself, like, what is my intention? What do I declare about forgiveness? Like, what do I most want to experience from practicing these skills? And you can write it in the chat. You can message me. When you declare it, when you claim it, it's like it is so. Another of my favorite poets, his name is Hafiz, and he says that the words you speak become the house you live in. And it's really true. And that's also part of the grace of forgiveness. Because when you say the words, I forgive, that reverberates throughout the universe. And your heart opens. So my encouragement is to give yourself space to play with this today. Like it may happen for you on the first time that you forgive. You may need to work at it. It has its own sacred timing. And when you see all of it as part of your own majestic journey into greater self-love and greater standing in your truth, then every aspect of it, including the judgment, including the struggle, becomes a true stepping stone to your liberation and to your learning. So it's pretty incredible. So I'm going to share just a bit about my own story, and then we're going to dive in with these questions to help you look at what do I want to let go of in this time together, and some tools to help you get going, So my name is Debbie Roth. For those of you who don't know me, I guess I could have said that in the beginning. And I'm a life and forgiveness coach, and I work with people to help them deeply listen to the prayers of their heart, for what they want to create, for what their vision is for themselves, and to let go of the blocks that stand in the way. And to me, forgiveness is really the most direct tool that I know to release what no longer serves you, so that you can live into what you really want. So for me personally, I'm not going to get into my whole story here. What I will say is that when I was younger, I had an eating disorder, and I had a lot of judgments about myself. I had a lot of stories about myself and about the way that I grew up. My mom was mentally ill. My mom and dad split up. I just felt really unlovable. And I was so successful on the outside. On the inside, I was really struggling. And I used eating as a way to punish myself. I don't know if any of you relate to self-punishment, to negative self-talk, to not seeing yourself as worthy of loving. I had that going on in spades. And it was really through finding this practice of self-forgiveness that I got free, that I began to be able to unravel, like, what are the stories that I'm telling myself, about my own worthiness, about who I am. What are the judgments that I have against my mother and my father? Where are my upsets, and how can I look at what's underneath those so that I can choose a different path, so that I can give myself loving attention and I can get free? And honestly, I don't think that I would still be here if I hadn't found this tool of forgiveness. So it is so powerful. It is so powerful, and I encourage you to fully avail yourself of this and even make it fun. I hear you, Alex. I declare I can make forgiveness fun because you can. You can. So I'm going to share one more part of my journey, and that is some of you know that my mom was murdered back in 2005. And forgiveness helped me to take my ability to see through the eyes of love to a whole nother level, to let go of the incredible judgments that I had against the person who did it, against myself for not being there, against my mom for putting herself in that situation. And I'm still working that one. And honestly, it's through saying the words, I forgive myself for judging, my own willingness to look at my upset and say, what if there really were no right or wrong and only my thinking that makes it so? To be a spiritual warrior for forgiveness. That's what helped me to experience a higher loving and compassion than I've ever known. I don't know that I ever would have experienced that were it not for what I walked through. So I wouldn't change a thing. And I love you, Mom. In fact, I dedicate the series to you, Carol S. Roth. Okay, so let's dive in. So I'm going to ask you a question now, and I encourage you to really listen inside for the answer, because what you think you might want to forgive might not actually be what your heart is calling you to work on in this series. So throughout all of what we do, it's like let your mind go on a vacation, right? And listen to that higher wisdom inside that's guiding you on what is next for you to look at for yourself. For yourself. So, okay, here we go. This page is done. We're rocking and rolling here. So here's the question. If you could forgive one thing that would make the biggest difference for you, what is it? And I'm going to ask this in a different way as well. It's like, what is a situation or a person or a behavior that you do that really upsets you? So some examples, it could be a relationship with a spouse or a coworker or a kid. It might be a pattern you do that doesn't serve you and that you're tired of, like negative self-talk or taking care of others before yourself, etc. So here's my encouragement for you. If there's one thing that you really don't want to focus on, that you're like, oh, I don't want to look at that one. Like that one feels tough to let go. Maybe that's the one to go with for the series. Because what if over the course of these 4 weeks, as you slow down with each of the skills, over these videos and the resources that you dive into, what if you create some room to see the situation differently? To see yourself differently, and to open to new possibility that comes when you clear your vision and open your heart to the wisdom that comes with greater peace. So if there is something that you really want to resolve, choose that. Choose that. And this is also an opportunity that as you go and you practice these skills, that you can relate to yourself differently. It's like, what if you became a forgiveness scientist where you are loving with yourself and compassionate with yourself and say, ooh, that didn't work. I just totally went into judgment, or I went back into an old pattern, or I'm really stuck in the right and wrong. And you look at ways you can shift it. Because if you add judgment onto judgment, it's not helpful, right? So I'm going to give one example of that. So I'm running a group starting in March, actually, called The Power and Grace of Self-Forgiveness. And there was a woman yesterday who signed up. And what she really wants to work on is letting go of the judgments that up until now have been her baggage, like have been her weight. It's like she said she has so many blessings in her life, and that in some ways she can't fully live into what's currently happening. And she also can't even like really claim a vision of what she wants because of the judgments that she's allowing to block her. And one of the things that we talked about is how tough it is for her to get vulnerable, for her to get messy, for her to even look at the places inside that judge, that she judges the judgment. And when you relate to yourself that way, it's like almost like there's no way out. Like you put yourself into a box of non forgiveness. So, my encouragement is to be authentic with yourself, to get real with yourself, and to say, hey, this is what's going on for me. I'm playing the victim. I'm not taking care of myself, etc. It's like whatever it is for you. And decide now to relate to yourself with loving, with acceptance, with patience. And when you find yourself not doing that, recognize that you have a choice to shift in that moment and say, I'm going to choose love as I look into this. Okay, so here is the skill that we're going to look at today. And before I say that, okay, one more thing. Before I say that, there's one person who had a question and she said, how can I have the faith and courage to let go of what I know I need to let go of so that like I can step in some ways to a bigger version of myself that like I know I could live into that. Like how in essence can I get uncomfortable? How can I have the courage and faith to do that? And one of the things that I mentioned to her already, and I want to say this for all of you, is to take one step at a time. To say, what is my very next step to look at regarding this person that I'm upset with? This situation where I have a judgment and I want to let it go, or this negative pattern that you do. It's like, what's the very next thing? And to give loving attention to the part in you that doesn't want to let go, that feels fearful or alone, or that worries about what will I do if I let this go? What will my life be? Because see, sometimes when you pay attention to the resistance, you might learn something that gives you the exact key that you need to let go of the judgment that you most want to release. In fact, it can be your stepping stone into freedom and peace. So it's like take one step at a time. Listen to the parts inside that have resistance or fear, and really use it all for your learning. Okay, so here is the skill for today, for this week, that I encourage you to focus on. And that skill is observation. And in some ways, Madonna, you're right. It's like listening to that quiet voice inside. That is a part of observation. So what I want you to do this week is not worry about, oh my God, I got to let this thing go right now. Like I have this upset toward this person and I got to forgive it this week. It's like, what if you just observed yourself and said, how do I choose to respond in regards to this situation that upsets me? Whether it's a pattern you do or a person you're upset with or a situation you want to get out of that causes you upset. It's like, what do you do? How do you choose to react? How does that work for you? What are your thoughts and feelings about it? And if there are any still small voices inside that have guidance for you, you could listen to that too. So you might get a journal and be a forgiveness, really, like a forgiveness scientist. It's like, what might happen if you didn't try to change yourself and you just observed it? You can get a lot of information that way. And I'm going to give you another example of a client that I worked with. So she did a group with me called Co-Creating Your Exquisite Life. We just completed it. And the essence of the group was each woman chose a project that for them was moving their soul. It's like that they could do something that would bring in greater loving in their life, more inspiration, more joy, etc. So this one client was focused on three things: self-forgiveness, self-love, and self-care. And she had originally come to me because a boyfriend split up with her, and she was so upset by that. And what she realized is that she really needed to focus on loving herself, on looking at where she judges herself, because forget what anybody else does. It's like, what do you do to yourself inside? So she did a whole group, a whole project on creating a space, a field of self-love, self-care, and self-forgiveness. And as she observed herself, as she went forward, she realized, she's like, oh my God, I have so much negative self-talk. She had no idea of the voices that she had running in her head fairly constantly, at least regularly, that were saying negative things about herself, about other people too, but most of all about herself. And so once she recognized that, she was then empowered to choose differently. And what she chose to do is she had rubber bands that she put on her wrist. And each time that she was aware that she was going into negative self talk, she took one rubber band off the wrist, put it on her other wrist, and said something positive. So you see, there is so much power simply in just observing yourself and going up to a place of elevation. And that can help you, that in itself can help you to start to let go of the judgments of what you're making right and wrong, and that you might even have a simple step to choose differently. To choose differently. So my spiritual mentor, his name is John Roger, and he says that observation is the key to letting go. It's the key to letting go. So I have another example about it, and then I'm going to give you some steps that you can take this week to practice observation, to practice observation. And oh, this is very vulnerable. So when my mom was murdered, I couldn't handle it. I could not handle the feelings. I couldn't handle what it brought up inside of me. And I had practiced forgiveness for years. I was just starting to facilitate workshops around forgiveness. And honestly, everyone, I tuned out. It was like I couldn't access the feelings that I had, the anger that I felt at Jamie who did it. And in some ways, I went into what I call a spiritual bypass. That I was like, I forgive the judgment. Like, I get that there's no such thing as right or wrong. Where inside of me, there was a part crying out for my mother. That was crying out to that person who did it and say, how could you? And a part of my own process of letting go and of resolving this inside, of coming to peace inside with my mom, with Jamie, with the murder, and with myself, was I simply observed what was going on. And I gave loving attention to that part in me that was upset. I didn't try to change her. I didn't practice acceptance or self-forgiveness or owning my upset. I just said, I really hear you. Tell me what's going on. And that was one of my greatest keys to healing. It's like I've heard it said that the gates of liberation, it's like they don't they don't open this way. You can't push them. You need to step back and let these doors open to you. And one of the greatest ways I know to step back is by observing what's so, and by giving yourself the space to pay attention to what's going on in your inner environment. Because the truth is that no matter what happens on the outside, that it's not the cause of what's going on inside of you. And when you start to create space to look at that, to look at how do I react to things, you can't control what happens on the outside. What you can do is begin to create mastery on what's going on inside, so that you give space to what's happening, you bring in healing, and that you can choose a higher way. In fact, that you can choose, I forgive myself for separating myself from my loving with the judgments that I have inside. And it starts, best I know, with getting messy, with observation, and with paying attention to yourself. Okay, I need to wrap this up now. So I have some actions for you. Firstly, you might just ask yourself, like, what is, given what I heard today, what is one step that I can take to get traction on this thing that I want to forgive and let go of? It might be observation. It might be slowing down to listen to yourself. It might be getting messy. Or you might hear something differently. You might hear, I need to go talk to this person where I've experienced upset and take ownership over that. You might hear, you know what? There's a way that I'm not taking care of my health, and I want to take one simple action this week to begin doing that. You might say to yourself, God, like, I feel like I take care of everyone else. How do I take care of myself given my other responsibilities, given my kids, given my work, given whatever else? You might say, what upsets me the most about that? Because when you have something that upsets you, that's your indicator that there's juice there for you to say, what is the judgment that is underneath my upset? Because that's your opportunity to get free when you slow down with it and start to choose forgiveness. So, here are some possible actions that I would suggest you work with in this next week. I have 3 of them for you. So the first one is to get a forgiveness journal. I'm going to read a little bit, so my apologies, and observe yourself regarding this thing that you want to forgive. So again, it's like you might write down, it's like carry it with you, right? Like, what choices do you make? Do you take care, if you're working with a pattern of not putting your needs first? It's like, are you taking care of yourself with that choice you made? If not, what occurred? Like, what inspired you to not choose for yourself? Or if you made a choice to take care of yourself, it's like, what shifted? And what thoughts and feelings are you having about the judgment that's present? About this thing, this situation that you're like, God, I want to let this go. What are you thinking about it? What are you feeling about it? Some of you are really kinesthetic. So you might have certain tensions in your body. Your stomach might even get upset. I had a client that I was working with, and we really slowed down with some deep judgments about her health and her body and how she wasn't liking herself. And she needed to stop at one point and said, she's like, I feel sick to my stomach. And that was her body giving her a message that, that's enough for now. So it's like, be compassionate with yourself. And especially when you're doing the journaling, you might ask, how does what I'm doing work for me? You don't even need to change it. Just ask. So, a second thing that you can do is listen to the upsets and the hurt that are going on. So, as you're doing your observation, or whether or not you do observation, to take a pause and say, what's going on with me right now? I said that I want to let go of this thing, but what's really happening for me? Is there some upset that I'm denying, that I'm not willing to pay attention to? And to slow down and give yourself space to be with yourself. And one quick client story about that is I had a client in a group and she almost left the group. She was working on intimate relationship and creating intimate relationship. And she realized in the group, through us looking at her wanting to leave, that she was holding herself back, that she wasn't willing to be vulnerable and listen to the upsets and share them with other people, and that that's what was blocking her from intimacy. And she chose to stay in the group, and she began slowing down with herself and said, what are the things I don't want to listen to about myself? She got more intimate with her. And she also had the courage to share that vulnerably in the group. It changed her life. She began to realize that she was everything that she had been seeking, and it started with giving herself attention. So again, so we have get a journal and observe yourself regarding to this thing that's upsetting you. Listen to any hurt and upset that's going on within you, especially something that you're denying. And a third one is you could begin to play with new choices that you can make to better support yourself, and or to see the situation through the eyes of loving rather than right or wrong. It's like play with. Shakespeare has a great quote. There is no such thing as right and wrong, only our thinking that makes it so. So you can start like creating a little space to, like, if I were going to choose differently here, how might I choose? What would be my rubber band that if I had negative self-talk and I wanted to put it over to the right, my right wrist, what's a new choice that I could make for myself to be positive with myself, etc. So most of all, I think I went over today, so I'm sorry. There is so much to share. Most of all, here's my encouragement, and I said this at the beginning, and that is to be compassionate with yourself. It's like if there were a little baby in front of you, would you want to punish them for learning, or would you give them encouragement? Would you cheer them on and say, beloved, you are doing a great job? See, you have an opportunity to choose loving with yourself as you answer that question. If I could forgive one thing that would make the biggest difference, what would that be? And where we're headed with this is that there's an opportunity for you to see yourself in that original innocence. That's the gift of forgiveness. And when you see who you are, it creates a whole new playing field to begin living into the inner and outer experiences that you want. That's the adventure you're on. So feel free to message me, post in these comments how things go when you take action. Write down your learnings from this, if you watch the recording or if you're watching this video, write down your learnings. Do that within the next 24 hours. Take action in the next 24 hours, at least something to get you going that will help your learning process. So next Friday, I will be posting, I'm not doing a Facebook Live, I'll be posting a little workbook on acceptance and how you can use the tool of acceptance to work with what's present, this thing that you want to forgive. So this week it's really about observation, playing with new choices, being with yourself in the upset, just giving yourself space. And next week, as a look ahead, it's acceptance. So, blessings to all. For those of you who followed my Forgiving Fridays, I end my Forgiving Fridays with my name and I forgive. So, I invite you, whether you're watching right now or you're catching the replay, that you can join me in saying, just say your name and I forgive. So, on the count of three. So, we'll go one, two, three, and then go. Okay. So, one, two, three. My name is Debbie Roth, and I forgive. Bless you all. Have an amazing, amazing weekend. And I can't wait to hear how things go with your adventure and discovery with forgiveness and the grace that is available for you. So be good to yourself, take gentle care with yourself, and talk with you soon. See you next week. Bye.